Do you and Mr. Taylor live together?
No.
Mr. Taylor, you live in a house or an apartment?
Apartment.
You live alone or with others?
I live alone.
How large is your apartment?
It's a studio.
And when did you get your dog?
I got her like 5 years ago.
From where?
Through my uncle. He had puppies.
How long have you and Miss Clements been a couple?
For the past 3 years.
How long have you been walking his dog, Miss Clements?
Approximately about a year.
How many times a day do you walk his dog?
Not very often. I don't see it very often. Not every day.
On February 16th, you were walking his dog?
Yes.
And you take his dog out on a leash?
Yes, always.
And your dog is a pit bull?
Half lab, half pit bull.
And your dog was a Yorkie?
Yes, Your Honor.
That you were walking on February 16th?
Yes, Your Honor.
This is the case. Case is that your dog, Mr. Taylor, there is no question that your dog killed Miss Perry's dog during that walk on February 16th. You were not there. Miss Clements was there, correct? The defense is, and I assume it's Miss Clements' defense, because actually you're the dog owner, so she's suing the person who had control of the dog as well as the dog's owner. Miss Clements' defense is that it was the Yorkie's fault.
Correct.
Well, that's her defense. You don't know that that's true. And then there is a counterclaim because your dog was quarantined and there were fees of $175. And your claim is because it was the plaintiff's fault, she should pay for the quarantine fees for your dog. That's the counterclaim. Now, let's take two issues. At what time, Miss Clements, did you get to Mr. Taylor's house to walk the dog?
I didn't walk the dog at his house.
Where did you walk the dog?
I walked the dog on the block that I live on.
Was the dog staying with you?
No.
How did the dog get to your house?
Because I had the dog in my car.
The dog was in your car. At what time on February 16th did the dog get in your car?
8-ish.
8-ish is not a time.
I walked the dog around 8:20 or 8:15 in the morning.
What do you mean you walked the dog at 8:15 in the morning?
Yeah, I was on my way to a funeral and I was walking the dog on my block.
You said that the dog doesn't stay with you. The dog stays with him in the studio.
Right.
How did the dog get to your block?
In my car.
So did you pick up the dog from...
Yes, I picked up the dog.
You know, slippery. You picked up the dog from his house.
Yes.
What time?
In the morning.
Time.
7.
And at 7 a.m., where did you take the dog?
To my house.
So the dog
like
was
on the
in
way.
your house?
Yeah, it was on my way to my house.
So you took the dog at 7 a.m. to your house. Did you take the dog inside your house?
No.
How long is it from Mr. Taylor's house to your house by car?
Depends on traffic, 30 minutes or to an hour.
And then you were taking the dog out near your house, and the intention was to let the dog stay in your house while you went to the funeral?
Yes.
So you picked the dog up from Mr. Taylor's house. Now, were you at home when she picked the dog up? Mr. Taylor, look at me.
Yes.
This is not going to be easy.
Right.
Were you at home when she picked the dog up?
Yes.
What time did she pick the dog up?
What time did she pick it up? She spent the night over, so
That's right. There we go. Wouldn't that have made it easier?
She stayed over.
If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory, Slippery. Do you understand? So you stayed over at Mr. Taylor's house. See, because he's not even smart enough to listen to what you said. Do you understand? So you stayed over at his house, and you left his house at what time, Miss Clements?
7.
To take the dog to your house to spend the day at your house.
No.
Well, you were going to a funeral. What were you going to do with the dog after a 30-minute ride? This is not going to get easier. It's going to get harder. What were you going to do with the dog? You were going to a funeral. If you're going to tell me, Miss Clements, that I took the dog on a 30-minute car ride to urinate and defecate in front of my house, and then I was bringing the dog back to Mr. Taylor's house so that I could go to a funeral,
no.
I'm not going to believe you. And if you tell me that you were going to take the dog in the car and leave the dog in the car when you went to the funeral, I'm not going to believe you. Do you understand?
Correct.
So that means that you picked up the dog, took it to your house, and you were going to leave the dog in your house while you went to the funeral.
Correct.
Wasn't that easy?